Hey guys, what's up? This is LJS here, and today I am now back with a deck profile for Machining Warsickle. This is the new boss for the Fighters Collection. I know I'm a bit late because the Legion for Machining is kinda out already, but despite having Legion for Machining, he is still a really good card. And he is also quite useful in the Legion deck, which I will show sometime later when I get my Legion deck done. But for now, I still have my Warsickle Cyclomatooth deck, so I'll be doing a deck profile on that. So, this deck, I would just want to get this out with. This deck is not really 100% machining because machining Warsickle is a much better boss compared to the previous boss, Machining Spark Hercules, because he is no longer as dependent on machinings. So therefore, you can make use of all the other Megacolony supports that Megacolony has, which is also really good. So, first of all, for starters, I'll run Machining Little Bee. In my previous deck for Hercules, she is not actually useful because all she does is you put her in the soul and you stand a rested rearguard act. So there's no way in that deck you can't really get any rested rearguards in your act during your main phase. So now she's useful because she works well with Machining Warsickle, because Machining Warsickle's secondary skill, which I'll explain later, allows you to superior call from the soul at rest, and she will then help you restand it and give power. So starter, Machining Little Bee, and she's also a nice 5k booster. Next, for grade 3s, I run 4 Machining Warsickle. Very good card, very powerful card, very strong card, because his skill essentially is, if he doesn't hit a Vanguard, you stun your opponent's Vanguard, meaning your opponent's Vanguard cannot stand, which is amazing. If you think about it, he's a very good advantage generator for Megacolony, because if your Vanguard can't stand and your opponent doesn't attack with your Vanguard, he misses out on Twin Drive. So essentially, it is a -2 to your opponent. So your opponent loses 2 card advantage, which is very good. Yeah, it's very good. And also if your Vanguard doesn't attack you, you save on guard. So essentially, it's a -2 to your opponent, and you manage to save maybe 1 or 2 or even 3 cards because you don't have to guard his Vanguard attack. But if you want to attack with Vanguard, he must ride, so that's a -1. So with his skill, you can -1 or potentially +5 or more to yourself, which is very good. As Warsickle, I'll go into detail analysis later on, so do stay tuned for his skill analysis and and reasons for running and all that. Next, I run the wonderful, I would say one of the best break ride available, Cyclomatooth. So his break ride skill essentially just does a field stun. Your opponent's whole field cannot stand. So your opponent cannot attack unless he calls unit from his hand, or unless he rides, or unless he uses his Vanguard skill to call units that are stand. Well, there are ways. For example, Bermuda Triangle can counter this guy because they can bounce and you can call and all that. So yeah. So that's grade 3. Grade 2, well, some of you might be surprised why I run some cards, but I'll explain later on. First thing I run is 3 Tail Joes. Some of you may be wondering, what is Tail Joe? He's 8k base. He's there because he's an 11k attacker and he does not require to have a machining Vanguard. Since Cyclomatooth is not a machining, which is quite sad, if Cyclomatooth was a machining, this deck will be so good. But sadly, Cyclomatooth is not machining, so I have to run. You need attackers. So Tail Joe is a good attacker, 11k attacker. Then next, I run 3 Machining Armor Beetle. He's a promo card. His skill actually helps you to do more stunnings, so you're able to stun your opponent's rearguard. But he may not be exactly that good. So sometimes, depending on your build, you may want to leave him out. But this build of mine is more towards Megacolony style, so I like to have cards that stun your opponent's rearguards, which is fun. So I run him. If you want to go for beatdown, you don't need to run him. You don't need to run him. Just run all the attackers, including your mantises and all that. So yeah. Next, I run 3 of this Machining Papillo. So she is a free stun. So just on call, stun a rearguard. So your opponent, an opponent's rearguard cannot stand. So yeah, free stuns. So having free stuns is also good because, you know, when you stun your opponent's rearguard, he can attack with the rearguard. So essentially you save guard. So you save cards essentially. I did a more thorough explanation of the differences between stun, retire, and lock discussion in my previous machining deck profile, so you can go check it out and see what I think of retire compared to stunning compared to locking, because all three are slightly different mechanics. They may look similar, but they have their own pros and cons and how it essentially works in the game. Stunning, I would say, is very interesting because it's not a you don't kill, but your opponent can attack. It's like locking, but not really locking. But your opponent still has ways to decide things. But yeah, anyways, go check it out for this discussion. Anyways, yeah, I'm running off tangent, but yeah. Next, I run 2 Machining Raptors. You may be asking, why am I running 2 12k attackers? Because he's the 12k attacker for a machining. But the thing is, you would most likely be on him for quite a long period of the game. So you'll be on this guy, and he's not machining. So it's quite useless to have him just a 9k attacker. But I run 2 because you would also want to use him for late game when you ride into Warsickle. He's still a good 12k attacker. Yeah, cool. So for grade 1s, I run 4 perfect guards. Sadly, there's no machining perfect guard, but oh well, 4 perfect guards. I don't run the quintet wall because there's no point running quintet wall because you don't want to eat away the counterblast, which is useful for Warsickle, because Warsickle skill is very good. So you rather keep your counterblast for Warsickle. 4 perfect guards, explanatory. Then I run 4 Hornet. So he's a very good 1 turn 10k booster or 10k attacker, depending on how you want to use it. But he's useful for some power boost and power attacks, which is good, I guess. Next, I run 4 of this Machining Caucasus. Very good booster. Sadly, he's only a 6k booster, although I honestly think that Mushiro should have made him a 7k booster. Basically, boost, hit, boost, hit, and then you can stun the opponent's rear guard, which is good. And next, I run 2 Stealth Millipede. Basically, he's a 10k booster for Vanguard, so I run him. And since this deck is not restricted to machinings as much as Hercules was, I have the liberty to choose to run all these guys because he doesn't need there's only one unit that needs a special counterblast, and that's Warsickle, and you only need 1. So throughout the whole game, if you play this deck, you only probably just need 1 special counterblast, and that's it. The rest is all non-machining counterblast, which is good. So next, for triggers, I run 4 crits, 8 crits. There we go, 8 crits, 4 draws, and 4 heals. So if you notice, it's only these 2 are machinings. The rest are non-machinings. But honestly, I would prefer to run more crits because this deck has very good stunning power, which is kind of like good defense. But having criticals would be good for pushing for damage. So ideally, I probably just run 10 crit or even 12 crits. But I can't get a hand on criticals. So if you guys have access to criticals, go for it. So yeah. So now let's take a look at the skills of the cards. So Warsickle, your main boss, what's his skill? So his skill is let me focus this here. Okay, limit break 4. When at the end of battle, that this unit attack a Vanguard, if it did not hit, okay, if you attack a Vanguard, it doesn't hit, you can counterblast 2. If you counterblast 2, stun your opponent's Vanguard. Basically, your opponent's Vanguard can't stand during your opponent's next stand phase. So, very good skill. Because let's just take a look at this. Okay, I have talked about this a bit earlier. Attack with him. If it doesn't hit, your opponent's Vanguard cannot stand. So by the time you ride him, ideally your opponent should be around 3 or 4 damage. Okay, and the thing is, if you run more criticals, your opponent might be pressured to guard. Yeah, at 4 damage. When they at 4 damage. So when they guard the attack, he won't hit. You stun your opponent's Vanguard, and your opponent's Vanguard cannot stand. And when your opponent's Vanguard cannot stand, your opponent's Vanguard cannot attack, which means he loses out on Twin Drive, which means he loses 2 cards. And if your opponent is a Legion Vanguard, you save a whole bunch of shield because you don't need to take that 20k attack by your opponent, which is really good. And if he chooses to ride, however, that's a -1 to him. So his skill, Counterblast 2, is essentially a -1 or potentially -5 or more for your opponent, which is really good. His second skill though is really good. Auto. When this card is placed on V, basically when you ride him, a special Counterblast 1 and call a machining from your soul to a regular cycle as rest. So basically when you ride him, you can call machinings from your soul out. Let's say this guy, call him out as rest. And this is where machining Little B comes in handy. So machining Little B skill is put this unit in the soul. So put him in the soul. Okay. If you do, choose one of your rear guard, stand it, and it gets 3k. So on the turn you write Warsickle, ride, special counterblast 1, pull something out of the soul as rest, put her in the soul, restand, and gets 3k. So now it's a 12k attacker, this guy. So yeah, so these two cards combo really well. So that's why you run her, because she's really good comboing with Warsickle. Next, Cyclomatooth is a break ride. So when you ride on him, you stun your whole opponent's field. Basically, your opponent's Vanguard and rearguards, every unit of your opponent units cannot be restand, which is really good. So of course, an ideal case is that you break ride over break ride over break ride non-stop. So every single turn, your opponent can't attack you, and you save so much hand that your hand size just grow and grow and grow, which is really good. Also, if you notice, if you want, ideally you want to break ride Warsickle on him when you have 5 damage, because when you break ride, use his skill, counterblast 1, so you have 4 counterblast left. Attack, and even if it doesn't hit, do not use a skill. Your opponent's field is stunned. Next turn, attack with Warsickle. Opponent guards. Counterblast 2, stun. Next turn, attack with your opponent's Vanguard. Doesn't hit, counterblast 2 again, stun. So these two combos, from the turn you break ride him over Cyclomatooth, you can essentially get 3 turns of opponent Vanguard stun. So stunning opponent's Vanguard 3 turns is very, very devastating. Break ride turn, stun once. And the field, you save a whole bunch of cards. Your opponent, if he doesn't ride, will -2, and then you will save a whole bunch of shield. So I'll say potentially, let's just assume you have 1 card for each column, and let's say 2 cards for Vanguard attack. So there, you gain 6 card advantage. Next turn, attack with him, stun your opponent's Vanguard. Your opponent, let's assume your opponent doesn't ride. That's another -2. Next turn again, attack. Stun your opponent's Vanguard. Let's assume he doesn't ride again. That's plus another 2. So essentially, you can gain 10 card advantage over 3 turns. Well, that's the ideal case. So as you can see, it's very devastating. Also, if you can watch some of my videos with him in play, you can see how devastating he is. He's able to get 3 straight turns of stun, and you actually gain a lot of advantage. So next is Teljo. His skill is, during your turn, if all of your opponent's units are rested, he gains 3k. So chances are your opponent will always have everything rested. So when he attacks, he's an 11k attacker. So I run him because he's not restricted by machining. So when he's your Vanguard, at least you have an 11k attacker to use. So which is good, because one of the weakness of this machining of Megacolony is that it has kind of weak columns. It doesn't really have any good attackers. So yeah. So next, machining armor beater skill is when you call him to Vanguard or rearguard, put a Megacolony into your soul. If you do, stun one of your opponent's rearguard. So essentially, when you call him, put one of your Megacolony in the soul, and you can stun the opponent's rearguards. So he's another unit to give stuns, but his cost is a bit hefty because you need to it's a -1 for you. So when you call him, you -1 card and your opponent's stun. So but it potentially saves you 10k shield, potentially. So yeah. So next is Papillon. So when you call her, stun an opponent's rearguard. That's it. Easy. And she does not have any machining requirement, which is really good. I guess that's why she has 8k base. But her weakness is that she's an 8k base, so it's kind of sad because she's quite weak. That is why. So these two usually I use these two in combo. So I'll call this guy first, and then stun, then maybe attack 1 turn. So I make use of her 8k base. Next turn I call this guy out, put her in a soul, and then stun another guy, because 8k base, well, I guess it's a worth it trade to put an 8k base into a soul. So next is your 12k attacker. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you have a machining Vanguard, he swings for 12k. His skill is when he is placed on V or R, Vanguard circle or rearguard circle. If you have a machining in your soul, he gains 3k. So for that one turn, when you call him out, he's a 10k attacker or a 10k booster, which is good. It's really good for early rush, or late game push. Quite a versatile card. So run him at 4. Next is Machining Caucus. So when he boosts a Machining and an attack hits a Vanguard, stun an opponent's rear guard. So he's very good pressure as well as very good free stun. So the only downside is that he needs to boost a Machining. So your grade 2 lineup, there's 3 different Machinings here. So boost a Machining, hit Vanguard, stun. Cheap, free stuns, very good. Sad thing is though, he's a 6k base. I honestly think he should be a 7k base, but well, oh well, that's my opinion. Next I have Stealth Millipede. So he's a 6k base, but when he boosts a Vanguard, and your opponent has all his units are rested, he's a 10k booster. So as I mentioned earlier, your opponent will most likely have everything rested. So he is a constant 10k booster for your Vanguard, which is really good. So every time your Vanguard will be swinging for 21k, 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 which is good, awesome. So yeah, I run him. But he's not machining, but it's fine because this deck doesn't really require machining. So yeah, some alternate things. Okay, some of you may wonder why I don't run this guy. He's machining Tarantula, because he uses Counterblast and he uses a special Counterblast as well. So in this deck alone, I don't run many. I run some non-machinings. So using him is a bit hard because you can't pay the cost for a special Counterblast, and he fights. He's also fighting for Counterblast with him. So ideally, you don't want to run other units that use Counterblast in his deck, because the only unit that uses Counterblast you want to save for is this guy, because this guy's skill is so good. You stun opponent. Counterblast to stun your opponent's Vanguard is really good. So yeah, if you notice, my whole deck, nothing else uses Counterblast except him. And if you can't find the promo card of him, you can choose to run him instead. So his skill is the same as Hornet. So on call, he gains 3k. So he's a 12k attacker for that one turn. So it also works in a Vanguard circle as well. So if you don't have him, or if you want to run a more beat down version of this deck, swap him out for him, and maybe more of him, and also maybe more of him for a beat down Megacolony deck. So yeah, so this deck doesn't really have much combos, except the only combo or winning MH you want is break right him of him, attack. If it doesn't hit, don't pay the cost. Next turn, attack. Your opponent hopefully he guards, doesn't hit, Counterblast 2, stun. Next turn again, attack, stun. So you have 3 turns of Vanguard stun, which is really, really good. So yeah, Megacolony. It's a non-meta deck, but I say it's a really, really good deck, because if you can pull it off, it takes skill to play, because you need to know what you need to stun, because it's not as straightforward as retiring or locking. Because locking, you just lock. Retiring, you just retire. Whereas this one, if you stun the wrong units, it can be quite bad, because you end up wasting that stun. So yeah, this deck kind of takes some skill to choose what to stun, but it's very fun and very satisfying when you see your opponent can't stand his Vanguard and they are just like, oh no, I can't do anything, oh my gosh, so sad. So fun. And I would say Vanguard stun is a lot better than deleting, because deleting, you can still attack with your Vanguard and you still get your Twin Drive. But with the Vanguard stun, you lose Twin Drive. Oh yeah. Although now with Stride, it kind of defeats the purpose of Vanguard stun, because if your Vanguard is stunned, you can still just Stride and get triple drive, which is pretty stupid. Yeah, so Stride kind of hard counters this deck as well as deleting, which I find pretty stupid. But anyways, yeah, so this is my Megacolony deck Warsickle build. Hope you guys like it. Thanks for watching. Do comment, do like if you like this video. Do subscribe if you like my content. And this has been LJS, and I'll see you guys next time.